In this part, we'll be studying with the nature and the scope of economics. So many people have thought economics as science, art, normative science, positive science, and all these things. So we'll be seeing all these things one by one. So first, economics as a science. So what is science? So anything which is systematic and has the comprehensive study of facts, and it explains the cause and effect relationship, then it will become a science. So many of the people, economists like Lord Robbins, Walras, Carnot, Anthony Augustine, and William, have agreed that economics is a science. So what are the arguments in favor of economics as a science? Is that it is a systematized study, and it has some laws, and it has experiments. It's not like it will have experiments in the laboratories, but it will have experiments in society or on the human behavior and all these things. It will not have laboratories, and the economic laws are universal. So these are the arguments in favor of the people who are saying that economics is a science. But there are people who are also saying it that economics is not a science. So the arguments which are against economics as science is that the laws of economics are not universal. So the applicability of economic laws is limited in the physical, social, and cultural factors between different nations. So this was what they were arguing, and the laws are also not exact because it will change based on the various factors which are to be considered while making the laws, and there is no possibility of laboratory experiments to show us that cause and effect relation, all these things. There are no laboratory experiments. They are experiments only on the people or in the society. And there were also conflicting views. So if one person says one thing, another person will be coming up with some other assumption or some other arguments. So there are conflicting views about it. So you've already seen in the same as in the first part about the economic definitions, you've already seen that one has started it as economics as wealth, the other person has told economics as welfare, and then they have told a combination of wealth and welfare, and finally it has come down to the growth, which was told by Professor Samuelson. So in the same way, it had many conflicting views. So for suppose if you say a law in physics, for example, if you go with the Newton's third law, once the law is made, everybody have to buy into it, and there will be no conflicting views about it because it is practical. It has the proper reasons for why it is that every action will have equal and opposite reaction or something like that. So in the same way, here in economics, we'll have some conflicting views about certain things which are not universal, and there will be difficulties in making the predictions. So the difficulty in making predictions, correct predictions in economics, is due to its inexact laws. So therefore, economics cannot be considered as a pure science. So, but there is a difference of opinion among economists regarding economics as a pure science or not, but it can be considered as a social science for sure. So even though it is a pure science or not is something which is to be debated and all these things, but for sure economics is a social science. So some other people have come up with a thing like you have physics and all these things which will have X in it. Physics will have an X, some other sciences which will end with X. So in the same way, economics will also end with X. So yes, it is a science is also some of the people's arguments. So overall, whether it is a pure science or not is a matter of concern, debate, but for now, it is to be considered that economics is for sure a social science. And then came up the topic that economics is a deductive science. So why is it so? What is a deductive science? So it is a science which deduces its propositions from certain initial assumptions. So there will be already certain assumptions made about something, and from that you will be bringing up some laws or all these things out of the assumptions which are already proved or which are facts. So that is known as deductive science, and people thought that economics is a deductive science because we'll be having some assumptions which are certain, simple, and all these things, and from that we'll be stating some of the laws or theories out of it, and therefore everybody will think that economics is a deductive science. And then came the topic, is economics a positive science or a normative science? So, positive science in the sense it will be studying about what is, while normative science will be studying about what ought to be. So, the people who support economics as a positive science are Robbins, Friedman, and Senior, while the people who support normative science, which is economics, are Marshall, Pagan, Hawtrey. So, positive science in the sense it is the science studying about facts. So, it will be based on logic and things as they are and more neutral and more uniformity. While normative science is what ought to be, like what is good and what is bad. So, man is sentimental and social betterment, and we have the economic planning, and it is not neutral. So, these people thought that economics is a normative science, while these people, based on these reasons, have thought that economics is a positive science. Overall, economics can be considered as both a positive science and a normative science because it has both the features. It will explain and also suggest and condemn certain things. So, economics is both a positive and a normative science. And some economists have also thought economics as a art. So, art in the sense it is the practical application of knowledge for achieving certain ends. So, basically, when we think of science, it lays down certain principles, while art will put these certain principles into practical use. So many of the economists like Marshall, Page, and J.S. Mill have thought that economics is an art because it has the solution of the problem. So economics is not only light giving but also it is fruit giving, and it has the modern trends like solving the economic problems, and they spend a lot of their time to find the solution to the problems of raising prices, unemployment, economic development, and all these things. So economics is an art while it tries to promote the welfare of human beings, and we have the verification of economic laws is possible only if economics is an art, because the reason is that art is that particular application of knowledge. So the reality of economic laws can be judged only if economics is studied as an art. So with this way we can understand that economics can be thought to be as an art, as a positive science or a normative science, as a deductive science, or as a pure science, but at the end we can also think it to be as a social science because it is a queen of social sciences. So in this manner there were many people who were thinking a lot of things about economics. So with this part we have completed the nature and scope of economics. Now moving to the next one, that is the economic laws. So economic laws in the sense they are the economic generalizations. So the laws are the generalizations. They are also called the principles, theories, or the models. So some of the examples of economic laws are law of demand, law of variable proportions, law of substitution, psychological law of consumption, and many others. So what are the natures of or the nature of economic laws? So economic laws are related to human beings because we've already seen in the first part that we don't have certain laboratories for saying the cause and effect of all these things, but we can formulate these laws because they're related to us human beings itself. They are in our society. And they are statements of tendencies. So the laws of economics express a tendency. They are not certain. They merely indicate how we should act in order to satisfy our conscience. So economic laws have exceptions. They have certain exceptions. Even in science also we have certain exceptions. In the same way, in our economics also we have certain exceptions and apply on the average in normal situations. Like economic laws do not deal with a particular individual or a firm. The laws are stated in a general form. They are stated in a general form and they are based on assumptions. We've already seen in the deductive method, there will be certain assumptions from which we'll be creating some, or we'll be trying to bring out some theories and all these things. So they are based on assumptions, and economic laws are hypothetical or abstract because initially something has to start from an hypothetical assumption itself. So they are conditional since their validity will depend upon the fulfillment of certain criteria or certain assumptions. So all economic laws are conditioned. They will state certain things to be followed or certain things need to be stable for them to be exact. And economic laws are not exact. They'll be varying according to the different situations because every time you won't get an ideal situation for everything to happen, and they are relative. So the economic laws are always related to a particular set of circumstances in the society. So when there is a change in circumstances, then the laws of economics must also be restated because they are relative. And economic laws sometimes axiomatic. So some of the economic laws are so obvious that they did not need to be stated or explained. They may be taken as to be understood because you don't need that things to explain. So for suppose if a market, if you go to a market, even a local person who is not even involved in studying the economics will say that the supply is less, so the price is high, and all these things that are used in the normal conversations itself. You don't have to study economics for it because it is so axiomatic that everything need not be explained. It is just understood because when the price of a particular good is increasing, when the price is increasing, it is very obvious that the supply is less and the demand is more, and therefore your price is increasing. It will not require you for completing a study of economics and reading all these things, and all these things are not required. It's just basic concept. So they are axiomatic, and very few of the laws are universal in nature. So for example, the law of demand, the law of diminishing returns are universal economic laws. In the sense they will apply everywhere at all the times, and they are more exact than the laws of other social sciences. So as economics has the quantitative instrument of money, so in economics we have a quantitative instrument, that is money is the key role playing in the economics. So economic laws are more exact than the laws of other sciences like our politics or sociology, because sociology and politics are based on human sentiments, emotions, and all these things will be the core values for that. But here, for us, in economics, our quantitative instrument is money. So it will be more exact when you are dealing with monetary gains or with money. So there are certain causes of uncertainty of economic laws as well. The first one is study of man. So we have uncertainty in our laws because we have to study on human beings. So economic laws are related to the subject of economic man who acts according to his own will. So we cannot say a person will act like this, you have to follow this rule. All these things are not practically possible. So when we are studying a man, a human being, then obviously there will be certain changes because they go on their own will. And there is a less possibility of experiments. So we cannot successfully experiment the acts of economic man because we cannot direct or command human beings to act as we want them to. And effect of different tendencies. So social man is affected of several things, like you have the economic, political, religious, cultural, and all these things will impact the human behavior. So there will be certain changes in the economic laws which we have to be restated according to the present, and their effects of unknown factors. So economic events are affected by several unknown factors which are not adequately found out. So for suppose if you go on with your stock markets, then one day the market will fall or the one day it will raise, but at the end of the day there will be certain unknown factors which will lead such things to happen. In the same way, for our economic laws also, every time they need not be following the same thing, because there will be certain reasons for which there will be the changes in the way it is being followed. So with this, we have completed studying about the economic laws, why they are uncertain, and also we have studied the nature of economic laws.